Y'all, I just started 50 different varieties of tomatoes so we can get these young seedlings going for this year's garden. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. Do you know what time it is? It is time to start our tomato seeds. Today is March 8th, and we're almost to the middle of March. And so it is time for us to get our tomato seeds started. In my garden journal, which you can find in the link or in the description box below, you can find my garden journal. I said that I was going to start my tomatoes. Where is it? Where is it? It's on here on 3/15. I am going to be leaving for a business trip, as if you've never heard that before. But I'm leaving for a business trip tomorrow, and I won't be back in town until after that date. I have time, so we are going to start those tomatoes right now. So I am going to put, ooh, y'all, I got to clean up my grow space, y'all. It's a mess. I'm going to put today's date down, 3/8, and we are going to start 48 different, okay, it's going to be a little more than that. It's actually going to be 50. 50 different varieties of tomatoes. And y'all, I had the hardest time. I went through and I'm like, well, what can I not grow this year? And I've always grown them. And I went through this very stressful process of limiting my tomato varieties to only 48, I should say, 47. And then I had one cell left and I had to figure out what to do with that one cell. So I ended up with 50, I believe, unless I miscounted. But anyway, we are going to start these tomatoes today. This video is just about tomatoes. So you want to, depending on where you live, and I am in Southwest Ohio, and my last frost date isn't until the end of April. Your tomato plants need a few weeks to get established if you want to put them outside. And I usually start my tomato plants mid-March, and I put them out the last week in April, depending on the weather, first week in May. If you put your tomato plants out too soon and you put them in that cold soil, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything at all. I've put tomatoes out mid-April because it was super warm, but the soil didn't warm up. And then I put some out in May, and the ones in May caught up to the ones in April so fast that it was as if I planted them at the same time. So putting my tomato plants for my zone out prior to May honestly just doesn't make sense. But I want to put a super strong, healthy plant that's at least, I don't know, about a foot tall when I'm ready to go outside. And so I need to start now to get those big, thick, healthy stems to go in the garden. So what tomatoes did I finally agree to grow? And working with myself to try to figure out how I'm going to grow it. Let's talk about them. Move these out the way here. Let's talk about these tomatoes right quick. And there's a variety of tomatoes. I like to separate my tomatoes in many different ways. I will separate them by color. I will separate them by size, like cherry tomatoes versus a big beefsteak tomato. I will separate them as a specialty tomato where it's my blacks and my oranges and the whites and the yellows and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to worry too much about that separation. I just want to show you what I'm growing fairly quickly. If you want a more detailed view of what I'm growing or not growing, I did a video. Here's the cover of that video of what tomatoes are best for the home gardener. And not only did it include these 50 tomato plants, but it was a few more in there as well. So if you want more information, actually I got several videos out there as I'm talking about the different tomatoes that I like to grow. But anyway, I will be growing Brandywise this year. I put Brandywise with my beefsteak tomatoes. Brandywise is a hybrid, obviously, and it is a combination between a brandy wine and some other tomato, which I don't know, but it's supposed to give you a better disease resistant tomato. So we will be doing Brandywise, and that's one of my slicers. I will be doing, and I'm trying to do more red slicers this year. I'm going to do the Burpee's beef steak. It's a hybrid as well. And some people only want to grow heirlooms. Some don't care. I'm one of the people who really don't care if it's a hybrid or an heirloom. Now, if you are growing a hybrid tomato, you can't save the seeds from those tomatoes and expect to get the same tomato the next year because it's a hybrid. So you're going to get something else other than what you planted the year before. Your heirloom tomatoes, you usually can save those seeds and you can get the same tomato the next year. So that's something to keep in mind. For another big slicer I'm going to do is steak sandwich. I grew a ton of these last year, y'all, and they did really, really well for me. And my tomato plants come in at all different times. There's a 70 day, a 80 day, a 75 day. The first three that I showed you come in at many different times. So that extends the harvest for me. I'm going to also do a steakhouse. I think, is there any seeds in there? Ah, I got one seed. I might be doing a steakhouse. I got steak sandwich. I got super steak. And I wanted to do steakhouse, but it looks like I got one seed. And we're going to try to grow that one seed. All right. I'm going to do bodacious again, which I do a ton of bodacious every year. Bodacious is a hybrid. Yes, it's a hybrid. And it's a big slicing tomato. Sometimes it has a little bit too much of the gel area for me. So I call this more of a slicer versus a beefsteak because if you can see, there's a lot more gel in there than I typically like. It has a great flavor though, so it's still very good. And then I'm going to grow Delicious. And here's a picture of Delicious. I don't have a picture on the seed pack here for Delicious. Thornburns Terracotta. It was a free seed. I grew it a couple years ago. And it did okay. I just like the color of it. It has a good taste as well. But again, it has a lot of that jelly center in there. So we'll be growing that one. We're going to do a true beefsteak. So nice, meaty, and big, hopefully. I'm going to do some, what I call more the darker colored tomatoes. So I'm going to do both a black Krim and a black from Tula. And if you'll look here, the same pictures on both of these. So one is 80 days, one's 75 to 80 days. One gives me a pound fruit, and one is like an 8-ounce fruit. But we will see what we get. I grew both of them last year, but I don't remember if I put them side by side and did the check. So I'm going to try to remember to do that this year. I'm going to do a Brandywine Black. I don't know if this is heirloom or not. I don't know. So I can't tell you. I had some people ask me. I know Brandywine itself is an heirloom, but I don't know if the Brandywine Black is an heirloom. I really like the really dark purple and black tomatoes. They have more of that true tomato taste. They have that more acid to it versus too sweet. I mean, sweet tomatoes are fine. Don't get me wrong, they're fine, but I prefer a better balance between that true tomato taste and the sweetness. I'm going to do Paul Robeson. This one is an heirloom. My favorite tomato, which is Cherokee Purple. Man, this thing came in beautifully for me last year. And it tastes amazing. It makes the best tomato sandwiches out there. We're going to do Black Beauty. You notice I'm doing all of my dark color tomatoes here. I'm going to do a true black Brandywine. And then I'm going to grow a Brandywine yellow. So my assumption is that this is also an heirloom seed. It's from the Rustic Garden. I've had these seeds a very long time. I think I might have a picture. If not, it looks just like a Brandywine. It's just yellow. So we're going to grow that one this year. We're going to do Drusba. Here's a picture of Drusba up here. It's an indeterminate, and so far everything I've told you is indeterminate, by the way. It's only an 8-ounce tomato, about 80 days to harvest. And it was a seed that was given to me from a family, so that's why I'm wanting to grow it so that they can get more of these tomatoes. Then I'm going to do Kellogg's Breakfast. It's an heirloom as well. We're going to do pineapple. Now we're starting to get into some of those sweet tomatoes. It has more of a sweeter taste, and it doesn't have as much acid in it, that true tomato taste. I mean, it's good. Nice, beautiful tomato, though. Doing the Hillbilly, and all of these look very similar, by the way. It's an heirloom out of West Virginia. Big Rainbow, same thing. And I believe this one has that color all the way through, if I remember. Dr. Witchy's, Dr. Whitey's, however you say it, can grow a 1-pound tomato. They're yellow in color. My most productive orange tomato in the garden last year, it gave me my largest tomato in the garden last year. I had one tomato almost the size of my face last year, so we're growing this one again. Now, it's super sweet. It's fruity. It's sweet. Not so much true tomato taste, but super sweet. So I didn't care for it on like just a tomato sandwich. I liked it in my spaghetti sauces because my girls love the taste of my spaghetti sauce when I put a lot of the orange tomatoes in there. And I like it in my salads, but not so much as a tomato sandwich by itself. Now we're getting into the paste tomatoes. We're going to do the Italian heirloom. And honestly, this thing is so meaty. It is one of the meatiest paste tomatoes, or at least that's the category I'm putting it in, that I have. Great tomato taste, deep red in color. Love it. Opalka is the next one here. Another paste tomato for us. Nice long tomatoes. So it puts me in the mind of like a Roma, but it has that pointy end on it and it's bigger than most Roma tomatoes. And then I'm going to do something called a super soft. It is from Burpees. Here's a picture of it. And y'all, this thing gets massive. It looks like a Roma tomato, but it's like 5 times bigger than those little bitty Roma tomatoes you buy in the store. And it's delicious. It said, if I remember correctly, that it has a very small to no seed cavity, and I don't remember that. It says seedless. I need to double check. I wasn't looking for that last year. It's perfect for chilies, tomato sauce, paste tomatoes, even diced tomatoes. Sometimes I'll dice up tomatoes and just can them diced so I can use them later in the year. But when I do that, sometimes they're just so watery. And so this will give you a nice diced tomato that's just not all juice. And then I'm going to do Big Mama, which used to be my favorite paste tomato. Here's a picture of it here. It's not anymore. It's the super sauce when it comes to this style tomato. But Big Mama is a favorite. I always grow it. It's 80 days to harvest. It's also a hybrid where the super sauce, even though it's larger, it's only 70 days to harvest. Korean long, which is similar to the Opalka. Beautiful, beautiful tomato. Had a great taste. It was very meaty, so it works really, really well for my sauces. It's crack resistant as well, which is pretty cool. This is Golden King of Siberia. It's a yellow, which I'm putting into paste tomatoes. When I'm making my paste, I really prefer a deep red sauce, but I could mix this in with those yellow tomatoes when I'm trying to do maybe an orange or yellow tomato sauce for the girls for spaghetti or something like that. Or maybe I'll make a yellow ketchup or something. We'll find something to do with it, but it was really pretty. And the fruits could be up to a pound, so I wanted to give it a try this year. I'm going to be doing Camp Joy. Here's a picture of it right here. It's a 1-inch cherry style indeterminate tomato. It's about 81 days to harvest. It was a good tomato. I mean, and they're a little larger than most of the cherry tomatoes I grow. So I'm really looking forward to grow this one again. I got a new one, Supernova, this year. I love grape tomatoes. I just have never grown any grape tomatoes. So we're going to grow the Supernova, that grape style, and it's got some gold striations on it as well. It's 75 days to harvest. It's indeterminate. And y'all, you got to be careful with your cherry tomatoes or your grape tomatoes because they will take over your garden. So if you're growing those, just keep in mind you don't need any more than 1 or 2 plants of the varieties that you're going to grow because you're going to get them every year because they're going to keep coming back unless it's a hybrid and then you're going to get something else every year. Champagne bubbles. This will be, I think, my 4th season growing the champagne bubbles. I love this. It's a kind of a greenish yellowish color. The skin is not bad. It's not a super thick skin on it if you let them ripen all the way up. When I first started growing them, I wasn't letting them ripen all the way, and so I was missing out. Another new one is the Rosella tomato. It says that this is a 1/2-inch fruit. It's good for cooking and fresh eating. I'm hoping this can take the place of my black cherry. I'm not growing black cherry this year, y'all. I got so many black cherry tomatoes last year that no one would eat them. So you know what happened? They all fell to the ground. And guess what? I'm going to grow black cherry again this year. That's why I'm not planting any plants for black cherry. But I would love for this one to take the place of the black cherry. And then we're going to do black strawberry. These are some beautiful tomatoes. And when they first come in, the fruit size is massive at first. They're super massive at first. And then as the season goes on, they get a little smaller and a little smaller. And it's probably just watering fertilizer. It's probably me. Oh, Lord, where are my Oh, there's some in there. Whew. We will be growing black strawberry again. And then I got some things that's not really tomatoes, but I'm going to put them with the tomatoes anyway. So I'm going to do some tomatillos. I didn't grow any last year, so we're going to grow these Grande Rio Verde tomatillos so we can make some verde salsa or green salsa this year. Now, if you're going to grow tomatillos, you do need more than 1 plant. In order to get fruit, you need more than 1 plant. So, you know, if you want them, at least plant 2 plants. I would say 3, just in case something doesn't germinate. The next set of tomatoes I'm going to talk about are my dwarf tomatoes. These are the tomatoes that I will only be putting in GreenStalks. I prefer to put dwarf tomatoes in my GreenStalks so I can kind of control the chaos when it comes to needing to trellis and being able to get 1 tomato plant in every pocket. And when I grow these dwarf tomatoes, it works. All of my dwarf tomatoes came from Tomato Fest, I believe. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that. I've been growing their seeds now for 3-4 years. I really like them and I'm going to keep growing those. The first one, actually, I take it back. The first one is actually not a dwarf tomato. It's still a specialty tomato. It's called the Great White. And here it is right here. I was supposed to tell you about that before we got to the dwarf tomatoes. I only got 1 or 2 of those tomatoes last year, so I really didn't get a chance to really enjoy it, to figure out if I really like that tomato. Some kind of disease came in, took over the plant, and I only got a couple tomatoes. So we're going to grow it again in hopes to get more of these in the upcoming season. Now, we're going to talk about those dwarf tomatoes. I'm going to do Rosella Purple, and here's a picture of it. It's an indeterminate tomato, about 12 ounces. It's got a super bold taste. I mean, it's a really, really distinct flavor to it. I wish they were a little larger. It says 12 ounces. I never got a 12-ounce tomato. Wild spud leaf. Here's the picture. It's purple. It says 12 ounces. I don't know if I got a 12-ounce tomato or not, but it had a great taste. It has potato leaves, versus tomato leaves on it. So it's a very distinctive plant. So if I lose a tag, I always know which tomato that one is. Then we're going to do the purple heart tomato. It can be anywhere from 6 to 16 ounces, which means it can be a 1 pound tomato, right? It can get big. And I like the fact that it's purple and black. And y'all, those are the tomatoes I kind of gravitate for, is those really deep color. Cherokee purple is one of them, Black Beauty, right? All of those type things. Because I just like the taste of those, the more traditional tomato flavor taste. That's why I like those. We're going to do Tasty Wine. Here's the picture. Sorry. It's about a 12-ounce indeterminate tomato. We're also going to do a big dwarf. Here's the picture. Now, my big dwarf has never been big. It says it can get up to a pound, but mine have never been big. If for the third season in a row I don't get a good tomato, we will make sure we put a note in our garden journal, and we will get these out of the rotation. I'm also going to do my favorite dwarf tomato, or bush tomato, which is Burpee's bush steak. It says it can get anywhere from 8 to 12 ounces, which is a nice size. And it gave me a beautifully shaped tomato as well. And I think it's determinate. It is determinate. So a lot of the fruit comes on all at one time. It says it's 65 days to harvest, but I found that these usually take a little longer to come in than some of the other plants. And I don't know why. It might have to do with where I'm locating them in my GreenStalks. Not sure, but we are growing it actually indoors right now. I don't have any tomatoes, but I do have blooms. But we're going to take this one outdoors and put in the GreenStalk in multiple places. I will have at least 6 of those in the GreenStalk. We're going to do a sweet scarlet dwarf tomato, and it's a red tomato. Here's the picture of that one. It says it can get up to a large. It says that it has an intense flavor and it's red, and I need as many red tomatoes as possible because I've gotten so into the blacks and the oranges and the yellows and the stripes that I've gotten away from red, and I need more red for my canning. And then we're going to do a summer sweet gold. Here's a picture of it. It says it can get up to 18 ounces, and it's a beefsteak, indeterminate. And I think I did get a couple of these last year that survived the tragedy with the GreenStalk, and I do remember them having a great taste. I am going to grow one cherry tomato that's on a dwarf plant. I'll let you read it. It says the plants get between 12 and 20 inches tall. So I'm going to put it in with the dwarf family of things growing in the GreenStalks. It says it's great for hydroponics as well. But 20 inches is honestly a little high for me for my hydroponics. But I might try that next year, growing it indoors. And it says it's great for container gardening. I'm going to grow this one again. I can't say it. Here's a picture. And it can get up to 12 ounces. It had an amazing taste, y'all. I mean, this one, amazing. The taste was amazing. I will probably always grow it. I did find these to be smaller. They never got up to 12 ounces, but we will grow it every year as long as I have seeds. We also are going to grow the dwarf golden gypsy. It's a yellow tomato, and on inside of the tomato is kind of a really light flesh. I think it's lighter on the inside than it is on the outside. It can get up to 18 ounces. I'm excited to grow this one. I think I got one tomato last year because it fell off the patio. Now we will have a total of about 3 GreenStalks growing dwarf tomatoes between my house and my neighbor's house. We're going to see if we can get a better harvest depending on location because of where his GreenStalks are located, well, where I located them for him, versus where my GreenStalks are located. And we can see if there's a better area or not. And then in the very top tier of my GreenStalks, just so I don't have an issue with supporting tomatoes, So in the top tier of the green stalks with tomatoes in them, we are going to plant micro-dwarf tomatoes. So I'm talking 9 inches, at most a foot and a half. When I get over 16 inches, that's just too much for me for my green stalks, at least in the top level, because I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to support something up there. We're going to do the tiny Tim. I will not be doing micro tom. If anybody asks, I'm not doing micro tom. That was the smallest tomato I've ever grown. And it was so small, I thought the plant was sick because it was just so small, and just not interested in the micro tom anymore. I grew it in my indoor grow space and I'm not happy with it at all. So micro toms are out. Tiny Tims, though, they get up to about 14 inches across. I'm also going to do Rosy Finch, and here's a picture of the Rosy Finch. It's a micro tomato, 55 days to harvest. It's full of flavor. I compare this to those little bitty packs of grape tomatoes you get in the grocery store that has no taste. You put this beside it, you'll think that the other ones are like water. These things are delicious. And I didn't get many last year, so we're going to grow them again this year. And then finally, I'm going to do Orange Hat. Orange Hat is becoming an old favorite for me. I like the variety. It only gets about 9 inches tall, and it produces for a long time. I don't know if it says that it's determinate or indeterminate. It doesn't say, but it's good. It's super sweet though. It's like candy, right? So those are all of the tomatoes that we're getting ready to plant right now. A determinate tomato puts all of the tomatoes on roughly at one time. All of your harvest is going to come in pretty much at the same time. And I grow a few determinate tomatoes, but not many. And it gets to a determined height and it'll produce for a determinate amount of time. Indeterminate tomatoes will vine and keep growing until the temperature or the weather takes it out or some type of disease takes it out. And for those, they might not put as many fruit on at one time, but it's going to produce for a longer period of time. And they absolutely are going to need some type of support system, whether it's a stake, whether it's trellising, a cage, whatever, but they're going to need some type of support. From a height standpoint, we've already talked about dwarf tomatoes. Dwarf tomatoes usually don't get any taller than 3 feet. I like the ones that stay closer to 2 feet tall, but they can be indeterminate. They can be determinate. And then the micro-dwarf stays like a foot or less tall. But now we're going to plant this. I made myself some notes, right? So I can see how long it takes for some of them to grow. From a name standpoint, I usually know what type of tomato it is because, y'all, I love tomatoes. So I'm always growing tomatoes and getting very familiar with the different names. But sometimes I forget which ones are determinate. Sometimes I forget, is it an early to harvest, like a 55, 60 day to harvest, or is it more like a 90 day? So I made some notes on here so I can keep that in front of me when I get ready to put these into my garden. So to plant your tomatoes, you are going to want to plant your seeds. They're all saying roughly 1/8 of an inch deep or so. So you don't want to plant them very deep. I have one cell, and that's it, one cell for every variety, because these are my little cheap cells, and there's 4 to each one of these containers. And I like to start my seeds in this. And I start them in this till I see what kind of germination I'm going to get. And then I up pot to a very nice seed starting tray and cell, and it'll spend the rest of its time in that cell until it's time to go in the garden. But when I'm first starting out, I start like this, so I don't need as many lights to, shine on the container, and I'm not wasting space. All right, so I got them all in here, and we're going to start. And I'm not going to show you me planting each and every one of these, but I'm going to give you an idea of how I'm going to do it. And y'all, I like to grow a lot of tomatoes, but I also like to sell a lot of tomatoes at my plant sale, probably April or May timing. And I do it for 2 weekends back to back, and I sell each of my tomato plants for $2 a plant. So I got to remember not to plant too many, but enough so that I can sell them at the seed sale, at the plant sale. I get carried away at times, and I'll just be honest. I know I do. Y'all, I'm trying to overdo it already. I'm going to do 6 in a cell. And these little bitty cells, if I try to do many more than 6, I'm going to be in trouble because these plants will start having so many roots and it'll force me to have to transplant them faster once they start coming up. So 1/8 of an inch, I am just lightly getting them below the soil. They don't have to be very deep. 1/8 of an inch is not that deep. And I'm going to do that hopefully for all of these. It's really one seed, y'all. I have one steakhouse seed, just one. Steakhouse, there's your one little home. There you go. Please grow for me. Okay, steakhouse is done. I need to buy some steakhouse seeds, y'all. Okay, bodacious. All right, so let me keep going. It's a lot of plants here that I'm gonna need to grow, or seeds that I need to start. So let me get these in the ground, and as soon as I get these in the ground, I'll bring you back, and we will talk about how we're going to care for these tomato plants, because y'all know tomato plants can cost you upwards of $6 or more a plant. And if you get plants like in some really nice containers, it can be 25 or 30 bucks, y'all. I might be in the wrong business. I might need to start doing full planters of tomatoes. Actually, what I'm trying to do, y'all, is just make sure that my neighbors can afford to grow their own food. That's what I'm really doing. I'm not trying to make a big profit. I'm trying to bring back a craft that seems to be disappearing in the suburban areas and in the inner city areas. I need to teach people how to do this again before we lose this skill altogether and we have no choice but to depend on grocery stores and big farms and things of that nature. And how many of you would agree with me that when you grow your own food, y'all, it just tastes better? Are there others who feel that way about growing your own food? Boy, I tell you, my tomatoes taste better than any tomato I've ever had in my life. The love and the attention that I give my tomatoes. I'll bring you back as soon as I get all of these done. Whew, y'all. I got all 200 plus seeds in. That took a minute, y'all, but I wanted to take my time and I wanted to do it right. I have at least 4 seeds in every cell, and in some cells I have as many as 8, which that's probably way too many. But anyway, I got all the seeds in. I made sure there were at least 1/8 of an inch underneath the soil, and then I just gave all of them just a light pat on the top. And that's how I start my tomato seeds. But now, guess what, y'all? They need watering. The soil is already a very light brown, and you can tell that they need watering because they're super, super light. We need to get these watered in, and I always water from the bottom. So when I'm starting my young seedlings, I throw some water in the bottom of my tray here. And this is probably going to need a lot of water. But I throw it in the bottom of the tray. And when I'm starting seeds, I like to give them a spray on top as well. And that's only when I'm starting seeds. I don't spray on top of the soil any other time, just seed starting. We're going to let that water absorb from the bottom. If all of the water absorbs, you want to add a little bit more. You want to get to a point where it will not absorb all of the water. And by that time, the tops of your soil will be a really dark brown or black in color. And then you want to pour off any extra water below. You don't want them sitting in water. So that's something you want to try to avoid where possible. And look at that. All of my water is gone. I just watered from the bottom and it's already gone. So we need to provide more water from the bottom. And we will wait to see if that absorbs as well. But this is it, y'all. Within 7 to 10 days, all of my young seedlings will have popped their little heads and come to the party. If they're coming to the party, we will start watching them grow. Now we're going to move these over to my grow station, which is just some shelving units with some shop lights, garage lights, warehouse lights, fluorescent lights to start all of my seedlings. But we're going to move them over there and bring that light down probably just to the name tags. That's just how close I'm bringing that light down. It's almost going to touch the name tag. If you are using grow lights, you might not want to do that. Read the instructions from the manufacturer, because that could be too close. It could be too warm. It could scorch them. It could keep them from germinating. I don't know. Follow the manufacturer's direction. But for fluorescent bulbs, that's like 5,000 K or so, I'm going to bring it all the way down until they germinate. And once they germinate, I will start bringing that light up higher and higher, because I don't want them too close to burn or scorch the leaves of my plants. But we're going to move this on over into the grow space. Well, there they are. The seedlings are in. I got my light just above the plants, or should I say the plant labels, and these are ready to go. And I'll be gone for about a week, but when I get back, most of these probably will have already germinated. Now, I don't worry too much about air blowing on them right now, but I will have a fan circulating, so they will have some airflow as well. But y'all, that's it. The tomatoes for this season are in. Now we get to watch them grow. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel. Give me a thumbs up, because that helps with the algorithm and help people to see this type of content. So until next time, and I hope there will be a next time that you hang out at Kim's Cozy Corner with me. Bye.